This is the Greater Lagos Vision, and I'm your host, Love Ikuku Oyedokun. A cursory look at some of the successes recorded by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu in the last 3 years shows that the state has made remarkable progress across all sectors of the economy. Within 3 years, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commissioned 1,097 school infrastructure projects covering 970 schools across the 20 local governments and 37 local council development areas. The governor has also touched the agricultural sector. The Imoto rice mill, said to be among the largest in the world and largest in sub-Saharan Africa, upon completion, is expected to be producing 2.5 million bags of 50 kg rice annually, creating more than 250,000 jobs. The health sector is not left out. Through the Medical Project Implementation Unit, NPIU, Governor Sanwo-Olu kick-started a total upgrade of infrastructure in the state-owned primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare facilities. The Sanwo-Olu administration has seen the completion and commissioning of roads across the state. The administration has also completed and commissioned numerous new road projects across the 3 senatorial districts, even completed the ones he inherited from the last administration, and still counting. This is the Greater Lagos Vision, and I'm your host once again, Love Ikuku Oyedokun. Welcome. This episode features Lekki-Epe Expressway. We feel your pain. Lagos State government tells residents, appeals over ongoing reconstruction. Parking levy designed to eliminate indiscriminate levy collection, says Lagos State government. Transportation. Lagos government introduces cash reward to lag ferry users, says waterways now safe. These and many more when we return. Please stay with us. The Lagos State government says it feels the pains of residents of Lekki-Epe and has appealed to residents and road users over all inconveniences the reconstruction of the ongoing 18.7-kilometer Lekki-Epe Expressway may have caused. Engineer Aramide Adeoye, Special Advisor Works and Infrastructure to Governor Sanwo-Olu, stated this in a chat with newsmen. Engineer Adeoye noted that the Sanwo-Olu government is a responsive government that wants the best for the citizens.
The loss of man-hours is regrettable, and we're trying to minimize that. Even school children, because it doesn't make sense for them to go spend hours in traffic before they get to school. It makes them very, very unproductive. Even by the time they get to school, the learning capabilities will dwindle. So we recognize that. And so for this operation in the next phase 2, because it's strategic, you have a lot of schools around that area, the contractor will see the work methodology that we will put in place to ensure that the contractor can possibly work, possibly in the night, ensure that the diversions are done in a way and manner that can actually minimize the pain and hardship that they're going through. But it's regrettable, but as a government, it's not as if we don't feel the pain. And so we sincerely apologize and regret all of those pains that they're going through right now. But it's a thing that will soon fade away once we move in and the contractor stabilizes and people can ride on that stabilized surface.
She, however, attributed the cause of the gridlock now experienced in the area to behavioral pattern of people who disobey traffic laws.
But in all of this, one major point of note is the fact that the way people behave, when people will not cease to, if they continue to face one way, because the officials of LASMA, everybody was there. Even LASMA, all of the things that LASMA needed to do to rejig, to ensure that they would double their personnel, their resources, work in triple shifts, everything they needed to do had been put in place, even for their men to be able to up their game. But that subsided for like a month, and you saw people go back to their old ways of facing one way. So it's about the enforcement. When you are having construction work going on, government feels the pain. It doesn't make sense for people to go waste man-hours. We do, and that's why we're reconstructing the road. But there is no pain without gain. Road, it's a methodical job because we've done the phase 1. We've done 18 kilometers, and we succeeded at it. The next 16 kilometers should not be a problem. When people decide to be lane disciplined, stay in lane, obey diversion signs, and allow the contractor to work. So it's not as if government does not need to be stampeded to know what they ought to do. We have already taken proactive steps.
Traveling on Lagos Ferry will now attract cash rewards, so says the Lagos State government. This comes as the government announced that its waterways are now safe. Lagos remains one of the busiest cities in Nigeria. It's home to over 500 active startups with a massive consumer market. Commuting within a state densely populated as Lagos has been Herculean in spite of alternative means such as water transportation. All that is about to change now with a reward system in place. Lag ferry users are now to receive cash rewards when they use the waterways.
My 2, Ijegun Egba, Ebute Ojo, Badagry, Ekpe, Ibejuleki. Anywhere you are in Lagos, CMS, Ebute Road, Apapa, anywhere you are in Lagos and you're patronizing Lagos State Ferry Services, once you spend 5,000 naira worth of money, no matter the trips, if it's 1 way or 2 ways or 3 ways or whatever, your 5,000 naira qualifies you for a full token. And instantly, you will be entered into a draw that can make you win either 500,000, 1 million, 3 million, 50 million, 100 million. So every 5,000 naira spent qualifies you for this draw and for a good token.
The core values of the initiative is said to create responsive paths to meet the needs of Lagosians.
I'm sure you know what gaming and betting is all about. I'm sure you know. Because it's like every weekend, the draw is being done transparently everywhere. So if you win, you know you're qualified for what you have won. But you have to win. You know what I mean? So I wish you all the best. The more you buy, the more chances that you will win. So once again, I say buy in Lagos, win in Lagos. You must buy. You must buy before you can enter the draw. And like I said, it is just the right time that government seems to, want to lean, towards the buyers because they make things happen in Lagos. In Lagos, things happen. People come there. There is one Igbo man that said, if you come with, what do you call it? Is it Ghana Must Go or whatever? To Lagos, you go back with Jeep, isn't it? Because this is Lagos where everything happens. So, and if you've been doing business and you've been making it and you've been growing, we as government seems to be of the opinion that you need to say thank you back to people that are making it happen. And that's why this reward system is being encouraged. So, if you have the nalai, no, they get anything, no. You have to be part of it before you know it's not true, not true. Echo talking is not true, not true. Thank you very much.
It is very clear. It has nothing to do with legal tender. What we're talking about here is that you spend for your satisfaction and getting value for money, and at the same time you are getting reward. We're not talking about using it as a means of payment. It's you spend and you get value for your money and reward as well. Also, you talked about trust. It should be seen here that because there's transparency, that is why the Lagos State Consumer Protection is invited here. So wherever you believe or you think that your consumer rights has been breached, definitely you can approach us. As a consumer, you use this token and you believe that you've used up to 5,000 naira on record, and you expect to qualify for the draws and the token. So definitely, if you think there's something wishy-washy, you can as well approach us. That is transparency.
In an effort to raise the standards for safety measures, the government is set to establish a command and control center to monitor activities on the waterways.
Since the introduction of Lag Ferry into the waterways, we've had significant development of our waterways, because the main reason of bringing Lag Ferry in is to be able to set the standards for the kind of boats we want to see on our waterways. And in terms of the safety that was spoken about, there's been so many things done and which has helped improve safety on the waterways. The first thing the state government was able to do was employ more officers to be able to cover, all of the jetties and the terminals. So we increased the workforce of the safety officers, which helped us be able to monitor effectively on the waterways. Secondly, we're also able to increase our patrol of the waterways as well as upgrade our search and rescue units. Thirdly, we're able to also ensure now that, it's much easier to be able to access even petrol. Buying petrol on the water. As I speak to you, Faloma was the first one. As of today, Ijegun, Egba, and Ikorodu also have fuel dumps, which helps eradicate the use of just buying fuel, using kegs to buy fuel on our waterways. And we're not stopping there. The state government as well is about to commission the first of its kind in West Africa, a command and a control center. The whole idea of that command and control center is to be able to effectively monitor all of the activities going on the waterways in terms of safety, in terms of security, and of course gather data for the government to be able to make informed decisions. And this will also help us be able to respond to emergencies even much quicker. Yes, we know there were unfortunate incidents in the recent time, but prior to those two incidents, which were back-to-back, for 9 months, we didn't have any incidents on our water, which is the first of its kind. And also thanks to the fact that, look, we have Lag Ferry setting the standard, leading the role, but of course there's still other operators as well. And as regulators, we want to ensure that safety is very, very important. Like I said, safety would encourage more people to use the waterways.
All eyes, especially travelers on waters, are looking forward to the impact of the project. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has said that his administration will continue to prioritize the development of education sector in the state through increase in the education budget. The governor mentioned this at the opening day of our two-day 2022 Lagos State Education Summit. These are stakeholders from the educational sector drawn from across all strata of the nation. They are here locking horns on how to evolve a fit-for-purpose education model for the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who joined via Zoom from Abuja but was represented physically by the Secretary to the State Government, Folashade Jaji, said that improved education is one of the legacies he wishes to leave behind by the time he leaves office.
Education for us is a must for us. It's one of the major dividends of democracy. It's one of the cardinal objectives of any government that is worth its while. And so for us, we see education as one of the things, one of the tools that can end poverty in our system. We see education as one of the legacies that we can bequeath, to generations coming behind us. And so we're not paying lip service to education. We're taking it very, very, very seriously. And it's one of the major pillars that we believe that will be judged at the end of our time in government. There are lots of big initiatives and ideas that we've actually been propelling, that have been pushing our ideology in the last 3.5 years. Education happens to be on year, one of the only few sectors that has continued to receive an increment in budgetary allocations, both at the capital expenditure and also with the recurrent expenditure.
On her part, the Commissioner for Education, Folashade Adefisayo, said Nigeria has a lot to do in improving the education sector and that the summit was organized to find solutions to the problems facing the sector in the country.
So this is about audacity. It's not another talk show. Nigeria has we have a lot of problems. Yes, Nigeria has the largest number of out-of-school children in the world. among other unfavorable key performance indicators of education. We have a lot of work to do. And therefore, the Lagos State Education Summit is important because some of the outcomes of this summit, we hope, will contribute to the process of framing the solutions to the well-known problems in the sector. Lagos State has the platform and the capacity to contribute to education in Nigeria. That is why we are here. This 30-year development plan will provide the bandwidth to drive the themes agenda of this administration, of which technology and education are recognized as part of the pillars. In the words of the governor again, at the official announcement of the plan, he said, the dimensions to this plan are to keep a thriving economy that will make Lagos a robust, healthy, and growing economy with adequate jobs and strategic investments to sustain growth. The governor further said, we are building a human-centric city in which every Lagosian will have access to affordable and world-class education, healthcare, and social services.
Stakeholders believe that creating a sustainable fit-for-purpose education model calls for a reworking of the current system being operated.
Your content must reflect your socioeconomic, affinity. The teachers must be able to be globally competitive in terms of, what is required of them, globally. These are some of the things fit-for-purpose education is designed to do.
We have to look at quality of our education. One key thing we need to solve is the quality of our teachers. We cannot improve education outcomes in Nigeria if we don't improve the quality of our teachers. And to do that, it goes beyond training 5,000 teachers, 10,000 teachers. We must come up with a model that can train millions of teachers on a yearly basis based on incentives. Those are the kind of things we need to rethink. Those are hard questions we need to ask ourselves.
The Vice Chancellor of Pan-Atlantic University, Nigeria, Professor Enase Okonedu, in her lecture, lamented the decay in the education sector, noting that the knowledge-based system that Nigeria now practices is no longer appropriate. Okonedu urged stakeholders to see education as an investment that can make the youth thrive in an ever-changing world. The Lagos State government has refuted false alarms over parking levy by its agency, the Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, saying that the development was designed to eliminate indiscriminate levy collections. The Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Dr. Frederick Oladende, at a press briefing on the activities of the newly created agency, LASPA, said against the erroneous claims by certain individuals and groups, LASPA has the power by law to collect parking levies. This press conference is to put the record straight on a purported viral post on social media by a business owner on demand notice by Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, charging him to pay the sum of 290,000 naira for parking in his compound. But the Lagos State government says it's all false. The Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, according to the Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, says any setback not in the title of a property belongs to the government, except whoever is claiming ownership proves otherwise. He said the idea that informed the creation of LASPA was to put an end to impediments arising from indiscriminate parking and collection of levies.
For example, you build a supermarket. The supermarket would have the space that is allocated to it, and then the supermarket would have a fence around it. Now, the distance between the fence, because we believe that that fence is put, they put it at the limit, and the distance between that fence and the drainage, which we know is not allocated to anybody, is actually the setback. It's important that we understand the definition of a setback. That setback belongs to government. Now, if the supermarket actually wants additional parking space, it's welcome to, they're welcome to visit the agency and then pay for that parking space.
The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Gbenga Omotosho, said the claims were an attempt to malign the government by mischievous people.
I've read the newspapers and I've seen on television, people who don't know anything about law at all, raising their hands and hitting the air in anger to say that what Lagos State government has done is wrong. And they are basing this on false information, that if you park a car within your compound, you are supposed to pay. I think this is the fallacy of the year. It's not true, and it's an attempt to malign the government by mischievous people. But I know that members of the media, my colleagues, will not be surprised if you see such things, because we are in the season of politics.
The General Manager, LASPA, Adebisi Adelabu, enjoins developers and builders to accommodate park provisions in their building plans before construction.
You cannot charge 2 million, 3 million, up to 4 million for a venue, and there's no parking. In Lagos today, there are some event centers that have 10 cars, 20 cars parking, and you have seated venues for 1,000 people, 500 people. We feel as a government that that's very unfair, because the day we have that event there, that whole area is on lockdown. People can't get in, can't get out, you have to project an hour or two to get around. These are some of the reasons why the government decided something needed to be done about that.
The Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, enjoined Lagosians to cooperate with the agency and other similar stakeholders in carrying out its mandate. Oladende also employed interested and concerned members of the public to visit the agency's office for necessary information and assistance. The Lagos State government, alongside the French government, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) enabling professional esports players in Lagos to go on real-time online community and compete with players around the world in the 1 billion esports industry. The MOU was signed between Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the French ambassador to Nigeria, Mrs. Emmanuelle Blattman. In the agreement, the French partners would deliver high-grade online video gaming infrastructure that would afford players in Lagos to switch from being casual participants to competitive players in their game of choice across online leagues. According to Sanwo-Olu, the MOU would be unlocking opportunities for the youths.
So for us, it's really to ensure that we can create that ambience, that space where our youth, are very smart, intelligent, youth and smart kids in this place can take this opportunity of, deepening, the understanding of the games, and deepening the learning, that will be coming out of it. It's like STEM education in itself, technology, innovation, creativity, right, are the kind of things that we're going to be seeing, apart from the latter part of it, which is the entertainment part. But there's a deep-rooted learning skill.
Our partnership will propel the engagements we are taking today to empower the Nigerian esports ecosystem and beyond the Nigerian youth. With world-renowned expertise, a turnover amounted to 50 million euros just in 2019, and with since then a 480% increase in investments and several major annual international meetings, the French market is ready for synergies to be built with its Nigerian counterpart.
That's all we have for you in this episode of the Greater Lagos Vision on Plus TV Africa. I'm Love Ikuku Oyedoku. Bye-bye now.
The Nigerian political space is an interesting and evolving scene, especially as Nigeria continues to practice democracy. Over the years, many celebrities in the country have been appointed by their state governments as commissioners, special assistants, and advisors, while some have intentionally delved into politics with the plan of serving the people and pursuing a career in politics. Today, we will be highlighting 5 female Nigerian entertainers who have been in politics or are in politics. At the top of this list is Funke Akindele. In July 2022, popular Nollywood actress Olufunke Akindele was announced as the deputy governor candidate for the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for Lagos State in the coming 2023 elections. The Nollywood star, best known for her Jennifer character, will be running alongside Olajide Adediran, a journalist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist popularly known as Jandor. Next, we have Tonto Dike. Ahead of the 2023 Rivers State gubernatorial elections, Nollywood actress Tonto Dike has revealed her intentions to run for deputy governor of the state. She had earlier in 2020, during an interview with the Ovation magazine publisher Dele Momodu, announced her intention to go into politics in 2023. Governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC Rivers State, Tonte Ibraye, on 24th of June, announced Tonto Dike as his running mate for the 2023 governorship elections in the state.
As a matter of fact, your presence irritates me. And let me make it clear to you that I have the documents to which you look for.
Moving on, we have Ini Edo. Ini Edo is an accomplished Nollywood actress, film producer, and director.
And you're not supposed to be here. I'm out there. You're the one giving me this drug that gets you depressed. And you're depressed. Leave me alone. Don't listen to me.
She is one of the actresses who has previously held political positions. In 2016, she served as the special assistant to Governor Gabriel Udom Emmanuel, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, on culture and tourism. Her appointment was renewed in 2020 when the state's current governor, Udom Gabriel Emmanuel, was re-elected. Still on this list, we have Kate Henshaw. Veteran Nollywood actress Kate Henshaw, on July 19, 2014, officially launched her campaign website as she sought to represent the Calabar Municipal Odukmani Federal Constituency on the People's Democratic Party platform. Henshaw, however, lost the primary election to retired Honorable Essien Ayi, but was appointed by Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade as Special Advisor Liaison, Lagos, in December 2015. Recently, she recounted how she spent 35 million naira to pursue her ambition to become a member of the House of Representatives and her regrets. And finally, we have Mercy Johnson Okoje.
Ichi, this is the money my father borrowed from your hand. Please, do not go near my father's Siroko tree. Do not go near my Iroko tree. Biko,
Popular Nollywood actress Mercy Johnson was appointed as the Senior Special Assistant on Entertainment, Arts and Culture to Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, in 2017. The actress has stated that she will not enter partisan politics because she believes she has enough influence as a filmmaker and appointee. Interestingly, her husband, Prince Odianosen Okoje, won the APC 2022 House of Representatives Esan North-East South-East Federal Constituency primary election. A popular quote from Charles de Gaulle states that politics is too serious a matter to be left to the politicians. And in Nigeria, with more Nigerian entertainment celebrities in the political space, this quote is true.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
The United States military is getting out of Afghanistan.
It's up to the Afghans to make the decision about the future of their country.
Concern about the impact the withdrawal will have on the lives of Afghans.
At least 5 media stations
private media outlets that have been taken over by the Taliban.
And the impact at home, what the withdrawal means for one woman whose husband died in combat there, and how she's speaking out for families of the fallen. The inside story on how the U.S. military is pulling out as it vows to keep the counter-terror fight going. I'm Carla Babb, VOA's Pentagon correspondent. I'm in the Pentagon briefing room, where secretaries of defense, military generals, and press officers have briefed on military operations and policy. For the last 20 years, many of those questions have focused on Afghanistan. President George W. Bush first ordered troops there. President Barack Obama surged troop numbers in Afghanistan to more than 100,000. He watched as U.S. Special Forces killed al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden in neighboring Pakistan before reducing troop numbers to fewer than 10,000. President Donald Trump struck a deal with the Taliban, promising to pull out all U.S. forces by May 1st, 2021. And President Joe Biden made good on that promise to withdraw, extending the deadline by a few months. VOA senior White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara takes us inside that decision.
I will not send another generation of Americans to war in Afghanistan with no reasonable expectation of achieving a different outcome.
U.S. officials said the withdrawal will be completed by the end of August. Biden ordered it in April, concluding the U.S. has succeeded in degrading the threat of al-Qaeda, the group that attacked the U.S. on September 11, 2001. But with increasing Taliban attacks on key cities, many are concerned about the possibility of the Afghan government collapsing.
I don't think the Afghan military is as bad as some people paint them to be, but at the same time, I'm not sure they have the power to keep the Taliban from creating an all-out civil war, which would be just an absolute tragedy for Afghanistan.
Biden said the U.S. will continue to support the Afghan military, provide humanitarian assistance, and help protect women's rights. But he insisted that Afghan leadership must come together. Around 600 American troops will remain to guard the airport and U.S. embassy in Kabul. Analysts say there are other steps the U.S. can take to keep the Afghan government from collapsing.
We can find a way to get the Western contractors either back in Afghanistan in a safe part of the country or close by to keep the Afghan Air Force operational, if we keep the money flowing to support the Afghan military, and if we consider perhaps even using a limited amount of American air power against any big Taliban onslaught against cities, there is a chance that we can help the Afghan government hold on to large chunks of the country.
Meanwhile, thousands of Afghans are trying to flee the country, crowding the passport office in Kabul and hoping to secure exit visas before the U.S. withdrawal. Efforts are underway to relocate tens of thousands of Afghan interpreters and others who helped American forces. The administration said it has identified U.S. facilities outside of the continental United States and third countries where they will be housed temporarily while their special immigrant visas are processed. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.
U.S. troops have steadily departed Afghanistan since President Biden's April decision to withdraw. So what's next for the U.S. military involvement there? And what are the terms of engagement at the end of August? In June, I traveled with the commander of U.S. military forces in the Middle East to bring you the inside story of America's new military posture. The United States is not planning to support Afghan forces with airstrikes against the Taliban once the U.S. troop withdrawal is complete. That's what General Frank McKenzie, the head of U.S. Central Command, told VOA in an exclusive interview while traveling to Europe and the Middle East. The United States forces are going to be striking the Taliban if they put Afghan forces in danger. That is continuing to go on right now, correct?
So long as we have forces in country. Those forces, as you know, are going to draw down to zero or at some point in the future. After that, the strikes that we do in Afghanistan are going to be against al-Qaeda and ISIS.
McKenzie said future counter-terror strikes in Afghanistan will be limited to instances where enemy plans have been discovered that aim to strike America and its allies at home, as when thousands were killed on September 11, 2001.
That would be the reason for any strikes that we do in Afghanistan after we leave. It would have to be that we've uncovered someone who wants to attack the homeland of the United States, one of our allies and partners.
For nearly 2 decades, Bagram Airfield served as the center of the U.S. fight to remove Taliban forces from power and take down al-Qaeda terrorists. The U.S. transferred control of Bagram to Afghan forces earlier this month. With U.S. airstrike capabilities out of Afghanistan, the U.S. will now rely on aircraft based more than 1,000 kilometers away to continue its counter-terror fight against Islamic State and al-Qaeda.
They come from a long way. It's a long haul to get forces, aircraft into Afghanistan from over the horizon.
But Bagram, losing it, clearly that's going to make things much more difficult.
It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be impossible.
Giving up that base is a real loss for American national security interests.
Bradley Bowman is a defense expert with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies who flew Black Hawk helicopters in Afghanistan.
We're going to have less visibility, less agility, less capability in taking the fight to our enemies in Terrorism Central. That's what's happening as a result of this political decision, this timeline-based, precipitous, conditions-ignoring, commander advice ignoring withdrawal that we're currently seeing from Afghanistan.
One way America and its allies increase their air power is through aircraft carriers. 2 allied carrier strike groups packed with weapons and fighter jets recently patrolled the region, including the brand new UK carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth. We boarded the crown jewel of Her Majesty's Navy during our trip with Mackenzie.
What a carrier gives you is no questions about access, basing, and overflight. It's a part of national sovereignty wherever it goes. It's U.S. soil, just as this carrier that we're standing on right now is effectively United Kingdom soil. So that gives you a lot of flexibility.
After our trip to the region, Mackenzie traveled to Afghanistan. The official end date of the U.S. troop withdrawal there will be August 31st. But this small military ceremony in Kabul was a symbolic end to America's nearly 20 years of war there.
But it's not the end of the story. It's rather the end of a chapter. More chapters will be written and the narrative will continue.
U.S. troops entered the country in 2001, targeting bases where al-Qaeda terrorists trained to launch the September 11th attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people.
And it's the right and the responsibility of Afghan people alone to decide their future and how they want to run their country.
The Taliban, who were toppled for harboring al-Qaeda terrorists, have accelerated attacks against Afghan forces since President Biden's ordered withdrawal began. They've nearly tripled the number of districts they control since May 1st, from about 75 to now more than 220 of Afghanistan's 407 districts, according to the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Long War Journal. The withdrawal is more than 95% complete, according to the military, with most Americans and equipment already gone.
We are certainly concerned about the prospect that the social, economic, political progress that has been made in Afghanistan over the last 20 years could be harmed or put at peril.
With just a short time until U.S. forces complete their withdrawal, retired General Joseph Votel, the former head of Central Command, told VOA that transparency with Afghan allies is key.
And I think we owe it to them to be as clear as we can possibly be so that we are planning against what it is our policy is, and they have a clear understanding of what it is that we are going to do, but also what we are not going to do.
The U.S. and NATO allies will continue to fund Afghan soldiers' salaries, help their Air Force with aircraft maintenance, and train Afghan troops. The latter two will be done outside of Afghanistan.
We're going to be giving them another 37 Black Hawk helicopters. That's more than they have right now. So in effect, doubling their attack helicopter capability.
But to military experts who fear the Afghan military will fall once U.S. troops leave, those efforts aren't enough.
Just because we leave and we say it's over, it's not over. You know, we talk about forever wars. Well, the Taliban is interested in al-Qaeda, interested in a forever jihad, and they're going to keep fighting.
Hundreds of American troops will remain in Afghanistan to protect the U.S. Embassy and the international airport in Kabul. In his July 8th speech, President Biden did the math on 20 years of war.
After 20 years, $1 trillion spent training and equipping hundreds of thousands of Afghan national security and defense forces. 2,448 Americans killed, 20,722 more wounded, and untold thousands coming home with unseen trauma to their mental health.
Landmark talks known as the Intra-Afghan Peace Process are taking place between the Afghan government and the Taliban. Talks began September 2020. Both sides want a path to power sharing and a stop to what's described as Afghanistan's endless war. The Taliban brutally ruled Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001 under strict Sharia or Islamic law. The end came when the United States invaded in its search for Osama bin Laden after the deadly 9/11 terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. Afghanistan formed a government led by Hamid Karzai, who promoted democracy and an open society. But the Taliban retained strongholds. The Afghan government, with support from the U.S. and NATO, has fought a protracted war. The conflict has claimed some 157,000 lives, more than 43,000 of them civilians. The Taliban and Kabul set benchmarks for the peace talks. Kabul wants a ceasefire, a power-sharing agreement, and rights in the constitution to be upheld. The Taliban want all foreign troops to leave, the release of around 5,000 prisoners, and rights to be aligned with Islamic teachings. The US, NATO, and others want a permanent ceasefire, the ability to deal with terrorism, and a firm plan to ensure a peaceful future in Afghanistan. Afghans are wary of a peace deal. Since talks began, a series of attacks have targeted journalists, members of civil society, and women. Media freedom and women's rights are protected in Afghanistan's 2004 constitution. Since the fall of the Taliban, the country developed a thriving media scene with female journalists at the fore. The Taliban have denied involvement in the attacks while insisting on Islamic law. The Afghan government has not laid out specific conditions to protect media freedom or women. That leaves many to question if freedoms gained over 2 decades of war will survive.
Foreign policy experts say 2 decades of war have changed the country's political landscape. Laurel Miller is a former acting special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan at the U.S. State Department. Here is her assessment of the American military drawdown and the geopolitical stakes at hand, in her own words.
There are questions about the strength of Afghan government security forces. There are a lot of questions about the stability of the Afghan government. But even though the Taliban has gained ground in the last 5 years, especially in rural areas of Afghanistan, and put themselves in a position to be a threat to urban